talking to vet coordinators in schools, the word's spreading and people want to be involved, which is a really positive thing. And I think give it time, and once the stigma is kind of removed, we're stamping out that gender bias, I think we will see numbers increase for sure.
Welcome to Building Perspective, the Master Builders SA podcast. I'm your host, Will Frogley. Join me as I speak with some characters in the building and construction industry.
At Dulux Trade, we're making paint easy for tradies all over Australia. With over 230 stores and over 1,000 paint professionals, expert advice for your next job is closer than you might realise. Need specialist advice for a tricky job? Easy. On-site and need it delivered? Easy. So get to know your local Dulux Trade Centre, Inspirations Paint or Paint Spot today. And while you're there, sign up for Dulux Trade Direct for trade pricing and simplified ordering. Because at Dulux Trade, we're making paint easy.
Well, really at the moment, there's never been a better time to be a tradie, and that's because demand for their services is far exceeding their supply, and because of that, they're getting paid really well. And not only that, starting an apprenticeship can be the first step to a long and rewarding career in other aspects besides just being on the tools. So that's what Master Builders is always keen to promote, and our Born to Build program is especially dedicated to that. And it's great to have my two field officers with me here today, Amanda Hewer and Ryan Palmer. Welcome to the Building Perspective podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So the Born to Build program, for those who aren't aware of it, it really is an influence program. It's designed to encourage young people to take up an apprenticeship in the building construction industry, but it's really shaking it up because, the days of, a teacher or careers counsellor saying to a kid, oh, look, Johnny, you're not doing very well in school, maybe you should be a trade. Is that really going to inspire the next generation? We say no. We think we want to have visible role models, people who've been a tradie themselves and working collaboratively with our members whose lucrative careers in the industry started with that first step of starting an apprenticeship and now run some of the most well-known and visible businesses in the industry in the States. So that's the approach we want to see, and that's what we've got Amanda and Ryan delivering for us. So, we've got two Sparkies on the podcast today, which is good because when we first launched the program, I heard there are a few grumblings, in the industry saying, "Oh, Master Builders will just tell all the kids to be, brickies or carpenters. They'll shepherd them away from being plumbers or Sparkies." But nothing could be further from the truth. We know that there's a shortage of pretty much every trade in our industry you can think of, and we need all of them. So probably, it's a good starting point to really ask my fieldies today, Amanda and Ryan, how you actually got started in the industry. So, Amanda, was working as a Sparky something you always wanted to do, or was it a long journey?
It was a very long journey. I had no idea about the day in the life of an electrician when I was in school. I had no idea about trades in general, being in school.
And that's a real problem, isn't it? For years, they've just been pushing every kid to go to university. They just haven't been visible in schools at all, really, have they?
For sure. The high school I went to was heavily higher education focused. And so it wasn't until I left school, and probably about 5 years after I left school, that I happened to meet someone who said that she wanted to be a tradie, and it opened up the doorway to so many possibilities that I wish were available to me when I was a bit younger. I think Born to Build's a really powerful tool to be getting out there to young South Australians to really showcase what building and construction can offer. And like I said, I really wish that I had that opportunity sooner, because it would have got me in there, found where my kind of niche was. And I definitely would have been hands-on on the tools a lot sooner than I was.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's something we've certainly always believed in, the value of the Born to Build program, and it took probably 5 years of lobbying for us to finally get it in, but we always knew for the cost of the program, the return on investment would be so much higher, so much greater than the cost of the program. It was a no-brainer.
Absolutely. You said that there was, there's such a skill shortage out there in the industry, and we really need to get some tradies out there and school kids, finding out what interests them, and our message is really to empower them to sort of believe in themselves and get out there and get amongst it.
Absolutely, and particularly trades have really not being promoted adequately to females, and we'll discuss that a bit later on, Amanda. But Ron, when you were in school, were trades visible at all, and how did you end up starting an apprenticeship? Was it something you always wanted to do, or when did you discover that you really had the passion for working as a tradie?
I was a little bit lucky. My father's a tradesman, so I definitely had that influence in my life early on, but I definitely knew it was something I wanted to do early on. Not that I'm silly, but school wasn't for me. It wasn't the right fit. So I definitely knew that I definitely wanted to work with my hands out there, out in the world. So for me, I started a different career in the military. And when I got out of that, I picked up my electrical apprenticeship as soon as I could. And that was that. I always knew, I was pretty lucky that I always had that influence in my life and knew that that was what I wanted to do. But in saying that, school was not helpful in me getting there, and it definitely wasn't something that was promoted heavily.
And I think that's, why we're in this predicament we are now, where there's a massive tradie shortage, is for so many years, schools were pushing everyone to go towards university. There was a decline in the number of kids doing an apprenticeship, and now we're really busy. We've been exposed. So we can't let that happen again. We've got to be planning years ahead and making sure that we've got enough tradies coming through the system now to meet future demand.
I think you're exactly right, and that's a message that Amanda and I are both pretty passionate about. Is it shouldn't be, oh, you're not very academic, why don't you go get a trade? A trade should be a first choice, and it should be something that it should be the foundation of which you build your career upon. And I think that's a pretty powerful message we're trying to get out there.
Yeah, and also it can take you anywhere. Like I said at the start, some of the most well-known people in the industry started out, the first day at work in the industry was as an apprentice, and now they're running highly successful businesses. And again, that's so much more inspiring to have those visible role models that can talk to kids rather than just, oh, Johnny, you're not doing very well in school. Maybe you should start an apprenticeship, right? Who's going to get inspired by that?
100%. And I'm sure Amanda can say this too. Like, I never thought that when I was 17 leaving school that I'd be sitting across the desk from the CEO of Master Builders doing a podcast. Like, I never thought I'd be here. So you never know where you can end up.
Yeah, absolutely right. So Amanda, you're if you're talking about, we all talk about this massive tradie shortage, and it's very real, but the amount of actual on the tools representation for females is staggeringly low. I think it's about 1% to 2%. So it seems we've got these massive shortages, but we're barely tapping into half our potential workforce. What do you think is stopping more girls taking up a trade? Is it lack of visibility, lack of encouragement? I mean, these are some of the issues that obviously you're going to address as our new Born to Build fieldy.
Absolutely. I think it's so true that you can't be what you can't see. And we're definitely outnumbered out there on sites at the moment. I do believe that for some school kids and some kids in general, the barriers may come from teachers and parents. The focus is shifting though, thank goodness. So vets in schools are, a big thing nowadays. It's all about having the exposure. So just getting out there and talking to kids about the fact that it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl or non-binary or whatever, you can be involved as well if you believe you can do it. And if it's something that really interests you, then pursue it.
Yeah, and I think this advice is good for pretty much anyone, regardless of what they're doing, is just completely ignore any detractors, because why on earth would you want to pay any attention to someone who doesn't want to see you succeed and be happy?
Absolutely. I can completely relate to that. And if it's something that makes you feel good, if it's something that you're really driven to do, I would definitely recommend that kids research, get out there, do some work experience, do a try a trade day, see what the industry really has to offer, and then find out if it's something that sort of appeals to you and follow that path.
Yeah, excellent. And Ryan, I know you were heavily involved in putting together a resource, which is really a really great starting point for not just kids, but also their parents who might not really know much about what various trades actually do. Can you tell us a bit about the website and the careers handbook which you've recently helped produce for us?
Yeah, of course. The website's fantastic. It features
What's the address, Ryan?
born2build.com.au
with a number two. Born to the number build.com.au.
Yeah,
I think Born TO build was taken, I think.
I believe it. I think it got snapped up quite a few years earlier, unfortunately.
We've since trademarked the name Born to Build, which is good.
So. Fantastic. Yeah, so it's got stacks of information on there for anybody looking to get into the industry. Also a lot of information for schools and community clubs and groups about what Born to Build is up to. It also features the top 8 most in-demand trades and construction manager, which is a uni degree in the industry, because that has been forecast as the most in-demand moving forward. So information on average salaries, information on daily tasks, what it looks like, pathways of how to get into it. Fantastic one-stop shop for everything that you're looking for, which leads nicely into our Born to Build handbook, Build Your Career handbook, I believe it's called. And that features every single role from trades through to labouring through to white-collar administration, uni degrees, architecture, 80 pages worth of information on every single role within the industry, which is fantastic and something that I think the industry has been lacking. Having something like that that's so comprehensive and a one-stop shop, like I said, is phenomenal.
Couldn't agree with you more, because of course we've been competing with the universities have always had these really, well put together, professional looking prospectuses, I guess you'd say, for all the courses and careers that they offer. And I find it quite incredible that it's taken to this point for our industry and trades to have the same promotion.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think it's, I'm sure Amanda could say if it was never around when I was doing it, I'm sure it would have been handy for you. But as Amanda said, just even that awareness of that's available out there, these are what the roles are, and just some little bit of industry context around what those roles involve, I think is crucial and something that it's great.
We'll just have to remember to update those salary guides regularly, because they're becoming out of date by the week, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I guess that's a reflection of a tradie's worth in the current economy is people value the work that they do and they're prepared to pay for it, because there's not enough of them around to do that work.
Yeah, definitely. There's very clearly a huge demand. Anyone that's looked into building a house at the moment can feel the pain.
Isn't it incredible? I'll say this to you, Amanda. Isn't it incredible that trades were looked out of for so long, often by people with an arts degree that are working as a barista? No disrespect to baristas, but that was seen as a more credible pathway. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Thank goodness times have changed. And that's not to say that we're anti-university at Born to Build.
Everyone's got their place, yeah.
But learning a trade is such a good pathway to, it really opens up the doors to building and construction. If you want to be a construction manager, get into project management, that's all a pathway you can take by learning a vet course initially, finding out what interests you, and then focusing on that pathway and letting it take you wherever you want to take it. I think it's, like you said, the handbook's such a valuable source of information for kids who might be lacking direction in school and, not really knowing which pathway to sort of take. It might help with their interests to kind of, and like I said, if kids can get out there and research, then they can find the pathway that is absolutely suited to them, which is why I really think it's important for Vetro in schools. It really ensures that you're really committed to take on that pathway and, setting up a successful future.
I think another thing that I really like in that guidebook is, again, the testimonials from the success stories in the industry, the visible success stories, as well as the pay guides. I think those two things will attract a young person's attention and make them more likely to get involved in our industry.
Absolutely. That's where I think Ryan and I can kind of step in and talk to young kids about our experiences. I've loved my job. I've loved my experience in construction, and I want to share the positive insights that I've had to help other kids, have a good time with it as well.
So I guess if someone wants to get involved with the Born to Build program, how do they go about it currently?
Yeah, well, there's several ways. So I would definitely hit up the website, Born to Build, number 2, borntobuild.com.au. You can definitely get in touch through Master Builders as well. And we're actively getting out there in the community, talking to lots of schools, sporting communities. We're going to careers expos. It's going to be a busy year, so we're hoping to get out there and talk to as many young South Australians as possible, spread the word.
That's awesome. So, yeah, MBA, we had the concept of Born to Build. We came up with 2017, to be honest, and like I said, it took a long time to get to this point, but it is so exciting for us to see it up and running, and it was a dream of mine personally to have this program running. And whilst we had the vision of how it would look like, we also realised that if we didn't have the right field officers with the same passion for this cause as we did, it wasn't going to work. So I'm so happy that we've got you two in here who it's obvious to anyone who interacts with you how passionate you are about giving young people a sense of purpose, getting them into a well-paid career, and also building up the capacity of what our industry can do. It's so important for so many reasons, isn't it?
Absolutely. For me, when the record button gets pushed, I get a little bit nervous. But
you'd never know, Amanda. For those who might be watching now or listening, Amanda, I think was it your first week? We gave you about 20 minutes notice before we put you on TV
on
with Channel 7.
That's right.
Fourth day in the job, yeah.
And now it's my fourth weekend, and here we are.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we never know when the media's going to call, but we thought we'd just chuck you in the deep end, and hey, you nailed it. So,
it's good to be involved.
Yeah. And Ron, who are you excited about going out and seeing as part of the Born to Build program this year?
Yeah, the sporting clubs for me are definitely huge. There's definitely a lot that align with the tradie lifestyle and the sporting lifestyle as well. So I think that's really crucial, and it's a great initiative for sporting clubs to get behind Born to Build to help support their youth as well. I think it's really important. And I think a lot like sport, a trade can teach you such good qualities for life, not only the technical skills, but also, resilience, hard work, and what you can achieve in this industry. This is an industry that definitely rewards hard work. So if you can get in that mindset and work hard, you will definitely do well. So that's what I really love and I'm really passionate about is, like I said, it should be the first choice in your career and is really a solid foundation for anything else you're going to do in your life with the life skills it will teach you. And that's something I'm quite keen on.
Yeah, great points. And, as someone who's spent a lot of time around Abner sporting clubs over the years, there's so many young, men and women coming through the ranks that, probably don't know what career is going to be right for them and want some good positive role models to inspire them. And there's such a good synergy between sporting clubs, grassroots sporting clubs and our industry because, people at those sporting clubs are more likely to be, physically active, to enjoy using their hands, and therefore they're more likely to make great trades. So, for anyone that's watching this, if you are part of a sporting club and you want the Born to Build program to come and speak with your kids, it's a free service that we offer. Highly recommend you give us a call and get involved because you're giving those young people a sense of purpose and you're getting them into a well-paid, rewarding career. So, I'd highly encourage anyone watching this, if they're involved with a sporting club, to engage Born to Build.
I love the idea of building a career on and off the field and, how it sort of ties together. And like you said, active, healthy people, can absolutely be influential and used on sites for great productivity and, building a great economy for South Australia.
The other thing I really like about sporting clubs is often they're doing renovations of their club rooms and stuff like that. So there is actual construction work going on right there. And if that work's going on at that time, what a perfect occasion to get, some of your young participants who might be interested in a trade actually to come and have a look at what they actually do on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Get a first-hand insight on a construction site. And that goes for schools as well. There's so much happening. It's really exciting.
True. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's been so much work on schools done over the last year, and there continues to be in Catholic Ed and stuff like that. And Catholic Ed's obviously a good partner of MBA. It's not just the government schools, Catholic schools, private schools. They can get involved with Born to Build a World. It's really open to any really government or community body that wants to give young people good career options.
Absolutely, anyone and everybody.
Definitely.
Borntobuild.com.au.
Yeah. That's right. With a two. Born2build.com.au. Well, actually, I think the name really sums up what we're trying to do. And we've actually, I think what's going to be really exciting is I think we're going to be launching some Born to Build merch, caps and stuff like that this year, which will be pretty exciting.
Excellent.
Good to
I know Matt Zubrinich, who I know enjoys this podcast from Plumify. I think he'll be snapping up the caps, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think
a few stubby holders in there maybe
he's got an eye on the hoodie, I think, is what he's after.
The hoodie?
So we'll have to put one aside for him.
Yeah, I think, the design of that stuff actually looks pretty cool. But,
definitely.
Yeah, Matt's a lot cooler than me. So if he wants to rock it, then that's a good sign, I reckon. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Ryan, you started with us about August, I think that's right.
September.
September, and Amanda's been with us for
nearly a month.
Yeah. So it's very exciting because we got the origin to Born to Build. Really, like I said, we lobbied for it for 5 years. But the reason why we're all kind of here today talking about Born to Build really is the support of the Minister, Blair Boyer, who really believed in the program back to the days when he was in opposition, and Stephen Mulligan, the Treasurer, and Peter Malinauskas, the Premier. They've been huge supporters of Born to Build, and I'd like to give them a shout out today because without them, first in last year's election campaign, committing to supporting Born to Build if they're elected, and then including it in this year's June state budget, $1 million over four years to run that program, none of us would be here today. So it's great that they've seen the value of the program and what we're trying to deliver, because it's so good for the industry, and then also we're just changing people's lives for the better, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, any support that we can get to gain momentum is absolutely going to be beneficial for the program and beneficial for young South Australians, for sure.
Agree. And I think attitudes are changing. If you look at just, say, 5 years ago, I think there's a far greater awareness of the career opportunities in construction now, the pay, all these types of things. It's like you said, Ryan, it's starting to be seen as a first choice, not a backup plan.
Yeah, definitely.
As it should be.
As it should be, yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely the message that we're trying to send, is that it's anything's possible, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
So it's funny, when you're working as electricians, now you're standing up in front of a bunch of kids. Like, how's the adjustment been?
Do you want to start?
Yeah. Well, I'm the kind of guy that can talk underwater, so I don't find it too bad. But it's definitely, you have to think about what you're saying and the way that you would talk to somebody maybe that's mature age apprentice to talking to, we're trying to get back to year 8 and year 9 to really sort of expose them to the industry. If your dad's an accountant and your mum's a lawyer, what chance have you got of knowing what a bricklayer does, or what an architect does, or whatever it might be? So you have to think on your feet pretty quickly, and kids can be a little bit fickle, and sometimes there'll be one that's a little bit loud or boisterous or tries to trip you up or be a bit of a smart ass. So you got to think on your feet pretty quick, which is good, but it makes it enjoyable and makes it fun. And you can always tell, there's always those talks, and you can see there's always a couple that you really get through to, and you just know are really going to see it through, and that's the best. That's great.
It's so key, in my opinion, that the Born to Build's delivered to the kids in a relatable way. Again, you don't want to wheel out some stuffy, person that's not really in touch even with the industry, let alone the young people. It's just not going to cut through, is it?
Not even close. And kids are smarter than you think. They can tell when you're genuine about what you're talking about, and they'll know straight away whether you want to be there or whether you don't. So very, very important. I agree with you.
It's about passion and enthusiasm. If people see people, if they're interacting with people who are passionate and enthusiastic, that naturally makes them want to be passionate and enthusiastic as well. Conversely, if you're dealing with someone who's negative and low energy, well, that's not going to make you, want to get involved, is it?
I agree, and I definitely think it was when Blair Boyer was on here, he said about, we kind of people in suits going around telling, kind of politicians telling kids to be bricklayers and how good it is. It needs to be,
it's got to be authentic.
It needs to be us.
It's got to be authentic, right?
Definitely.
It's got to be people from the industry, who've lived and breathed it, and that's obviously what you two are.
Yeah, that's exactly. I couldn't agree with you more.
Like, going back to the issue of female representation, amount of 1% to 2%, like, where do you think we could realistically get, in 10 years' time? Because I think New South Wales has got the highest female participation in the industry currently. Funnily enough, they've actually got a program not that dissimilar to Born to Build, where there is a female field officer whose brief really is to increase female participation. I think if you've got the right person with a passion for it, who's out there on a daily basis getting in front of girls, you're going to see results over time, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, like I was saying earlier, Born to Build is really gaining momentum. From what we've seen so far, and we were talking about on the way here, talking to vet coordinators in schools, the word's spreading, and people want to be involved, which is a really positive thing. And I think give it time, and once the stigma is kind of removed, we're stamping out that gender bias, I think we will see numbers increase for sure.
Are there some trades in particular that you find the girls are particularly interested in?
It's been really surprising to me, actually, since coming on with Master Builders, that carpentry is such a big thing for girls.
Yep.
Which is so cool. Like, that's really good to see. Also, electrical. There's a pretty broad kind of scope. It kind of depends on the individual and their, what interests them, what they like doing, and what they want to get out of each day. That's the cool thing about being a tradie. You can step back at the end of the day and really see some achievements. You can really see some results that you've kind of achieved in the day. I will say achieved because, you're creating, you're building. That was something that I really got out of it. And as for females feeling like, I did talk about being outnumbered, and I think we've got a way to go to kind of get the numbers balanced, evenly balanced. I don't think that's going to happen, that certainly won't happen overnight. But as long as you're surrounded by a good support network, then I think that makes all the difference. And that's certainly what I had through my 18 years. I always had a support crew. And to be honest with you, most of the guys that I worked with over the years were really welcoming, very supportive. They wouldn't really see me as anything other than an equal.
Yeah.
I did kind of feel like each job that I would start, I had to start from square one and really prove myself. But once I did that through a lot of hard work, you're on an even playing field. So, yeah, a lot of guys are getting used to seeing girls on site. It's not such a weird thing anymore, which is good. And the younger generation are a lot more accepting and welcoming as well, which is really good to see.
Yeah, that's great. I'd personally love to see our industry kind of go the same way as, what we've seen with women's footy in the last few years, where it's really just boomed, hasn't it? And if you think about it, as visible as AFLW is today, say going back 10 years ago, it was the complete opposite, wasn't it? So it's a good example, I think, of how quickly things can change, if the right things are in place.
Absolutely. It all comes down to exposure and opportunity. And if people are given the opportunity, they'll grab it with both hands and run.
Ron, I'll ask you a question now. Your new job, how are you explaining that to people? I mean, they must be very interested in the fact that your basically daily job is as an ambassador for tradies.
Yeah, and ambassadors or advocate, I guess maybe is a good word. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure out how to explain it because I tend to just, like I said, I love talking about it. You can't stop me talking about it. So I usually have a bit of time up my sleeve to explain it very well. But an advocate for the building and construction industry and sort of try to get out there and inspire that next generation of tradies is the best way I can put it, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I did think when we were putting the program together, I thought that would be such a fun job. Rather you're not sitting at your desk every day. Every day you're going out and getting in front of different people, having these conversations, and also rewarding because you're giving people a sense of purpose. It can change their life getting into a trade. It really can.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that was always the big thing for me. And the reason I want to do this job is I've always had a lot of time for young people and seeing them kick goals and do well.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
And with a first year apprentice, you can almost mark the day on the calendar about 6 months in when they just get it. The penny just drops and they start doing well. They start thinking ahead. And you can see at the end of the day that they're really getting fulfillment from their job because they can feel that they're doing well. That's the best. There's no better. I get goosebumps thinking about it now. Like that is, for me, that's the ultimate. So
Absolutely.
To be able to get more people in this state into that, and especially females as well, for them to experience that is phenomenal.
I was speaking to someone whose son's an apprentice with the Master Builders program, has been for about 6 months, and they said to me recently, like, "Oh my God, what have you done with them? They're a completely different person. They're so positive, enthusiastic, focused now. They've really found their purpose." And when you hear that kind of feedback, it just makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
It so doesn't, and that's lending to what I was saying earlier, that it's not just the technical skills, it's also the life skills. Coming home fulfilled from work and enjoying what you're doing lends itself to other areas of your life of seeing you do well as well. And that's what it's all about. So
true. Well, it's absolutely fantastic to speak to you today, and we're so pumped to have the Born to Build program out there helping the industry and changing lives for the better. So Amanda, Ryan, really appreciate your time to be part of the Building Perspective podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Will. Cheers.
Thanks for joining me on Building Perspective. For more information on Master Builders or our guests, please visit our website at mbasa.com.au.